Are markets actually worth it? How much inventory do I need to bring and how do I price them? Where do I begin with booth setup? And how much does it cost to do a market? When I began selling at markets, I had no idea where to begin. And after 6 years of running my online stationery business, I honestly think in-person markets are a completely different business than having an online shop. Today, I'm sharing information on how to sell at in-person markets, as well as some of my best tips and tricks. And if you stay till the end of the video, I'm gonna share my number one hot tip that I think is gonna guarantee you a successful market. If you're new here, my name is Sarah. I'm a mom of two, and I run my business from my home studio in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I make and sell greeting cards, stickers, bookmarks, and all sorts of other stationery. And even though in-person markets are not my bread and butter, I still really see the value of going to a few every year. I've done a bunch of different events ranging from Christmas markets, spring markets, night markets, Christian conferences, and other events where I had a table selling my stationery. And naturally, all of them varied in cost, effort, sales, and even enjoyability, but I can confidently say that I benefited from every single one. So grab your drink of choice. I have my no fuss water bottle here today. I have a feeling this video is going to be a little chatty, a little long, because there is just so much to share about doing markets. I'm going to walk you through everything from logistics, booth setup, how to price your inventory, and all throughout the video, I'm going to be scattering my hot tips. So let's get started. Is stationery even good for selling at craft markets? The answer is yes. I know that we're living in such a digital era, but we cannot forget that greeting cards are a billion-dollar industry, and there is always someone out there looking to write a handwritten card. Often I find that people don't walk into markets looking for stationery in particular, but it's very easy to leave with it. Because paper products are small and their price point is pretty friendly, they make a very easy impulse purchase. And I know this isn't the case for every single market, but people who come to markets usually appreciate things that are hand-drawn, handmade, and you don't have to do too much in convincing them the value of your product. The only thing I will say about stationery is that I have not done an outdoor market because I just don't think my paper goods can withstand the extremities of Calgary weather. There's rain, there's wind, and I'd have to make a lot of changes to my booth to make sure that my paper doesn't get wet or gets blown away completely. Okay, so once you've been convinced that it's a good idea to sell at a market, the first thing you'll want to do is research. You don't want to just research the market itself, but you want to research the city, the demographic, like who's going to be at the market. Because I was new to Calgary last year, I knew nothing about the local market scene. I had no idea what the vibe of each market would be, and I think that's just so important. The first thing I would do is check the website or the socials and try to look for photos of what the event looks like, the type of people that attend. You could also email the event coordinator and ask them for more details, or you can even very politely message other vendors that you can see have done previous events and ask them for some little insight as well. So based on my experience, I'm going to share 4 factors that I will always consider. Number 1, is there an admission fee or not to the event? If there is an entrance fee like $5 or even $10 to enter the market itself, you might get a smaller crowd, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because usually those people are the ones that are literally paying to shop. They want to be at the event, they want to see the local vendors there. However, if there is no admission fee, you're gonna get a lot of foot traffic. And the thing that's nice is you're just getting like all sorts of people, high volume of exposure to your business, but a lot of people might not be interested, they might not even know what the market is about, and you might just have a lot more people who are eye shopping. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something to consider. Number 2 is the time of day. So I've always done daytime markets, but this past Christmas I did a night market and it was a completely different vibe, as you can imagine. There were vendors selling alcohol, which is really different because the daytime markets always had like a couple of coffee trucks. There'll be less kids and less families and more couples. These markets are usually a little louder, and because it's at night, you may need to have different booth considerations, such as spotlighting. I actually found at the night market that there were a lot more couples on dates, and so while there was an admission fee, these people were just paying the fee to walk around and spend time and enjoy the vibes of the market. They weren't necessarily there to like check off their holiday shopping list. Number 3 is city and location. So from my experience, the neighborhood plays a really big part in how much people tend to spend. I see a big difference in sales in lower income neighborhoods versus higher income neighborhoods. Back in the day, I used to sell like pre-framed art prints, and I had markets where I completely sold out of all of my framed pieces. And then I had other markets where I would just be like hauling all my frames there just to haul them all back home the next day. Like they did not sell. So I really do think that the location and the city really makes a big difference. And this last one is demographic. I know that overlaps with some of the other ones I shared. Being a faith-based business, it's gonna make a really big difference if I go to a Christian conference versus a non-Christian conference, or like a youth event or a mom's event. If it's Christian, I'm packing all my scripture cards. If it's Christmas, I'm gonna bring a whole shelf dedicated just for Christmas and New Year's products. If there's a lot of moms, I'm gonna bring all my baby products, all my encouragement products. And if I know that it's gonna be a lot of teenagers, I'll bring all my stickers. All this to say, it is very important to be prepared and do your research. There will usually be an event coordinator, and they'll share a lot of the important logistical information with you. Things like your booth number, the location of your booth, load-in times, the schedule of the day. Are there tables and chairs provided? What time can you start cleaning up? Is there lunch provided or any other services provided? There's one market I love to sell at in Calgary, and she always has an event photographer hired for the day, and you get all the photos of your booth and yourself that day. So that's something that's really nice to know. Okay, so the next question I'm going to be answering is, how much does it cost to do a market? Now, most markets will have a table fee. Like, these things are not cheap to run. I've paid anywhere between $200 to $500 for a one-day table. I have sold for free before, I think at 2 different conferences, but it was mostly because they wanted to build up their vendor community. And it was awesome for me, obviously, because there was no upfront cost. Usually they'll include a table and 2 chairs. Sometimes you'll have to pay like $10 to $20 for those extras. You do have to request power if that's something that you need, but I have never needed like an outlet or power for my booth. I've also never traveled for a market. So I think one of the best things about doing these live markets is that you can do it locally. And in this season of my life, like, that's very important to me. So I'll drive like an hour if I need to, but that's kind of the max. I don't usually do anything overnight or anything that requires a ton of transportation. The other big cost to markets is your booth setup, and you can spend as much as you want or as little as you want on this. I'll be discussing booth setup later, but I think a general principle that is very important is you don't have to get it perfect the first time around. You're gonna scour the internet and Pinterest and compare yourself to all these really built out booths. It's honestly impossible to get there on your first attempt anyway. You also don't know what works and what doesn't work. And the thing is, like, you don't want to spend so much money on this because you might learn something at your first market that makes you think that you should do it in a completely different way. I think it's really important to be iterative and upgrade things slowly. Like, no one expects you to have a perfect market setup. Part of the charm of these markets is that people have all sorts of setups, and it's very rustic sometimes, very DIY. And that's the beauty of it being a small business. For me also, I don't really count inventory as part of my cost, even though it obviously is because I paid for it at some point, but I don't like to buy new products just for a market. I try to see the market as an opportunity for me to sell the products I already have sitting on my shelf, or to like use a discount on the day of to get rid of some overstock, but I won't invest new money into products that I hope to sell there. So next is what to bring. What do you pack for the market? Number one is very easy. It's inventory. You need inventory to sell. Like, that's the whole point of the market. If you forget everything else, at least you have your product there with you. This is where the research comes in very handy because you can pack what you think will do well. Also, bring your bestsellers. You also want to bring enough selection so that it's fun for people to shop around, but you don't want to overwhelm them. And I think this is the problem I had for a long time. I would want to bring so many SKUs because being a cart designer, you end up naturally having a lot of different designs. And it would just be so overwhelming to the point where my booth just kind of looked like a garage sale. Like, it was very messy and not a nice shopping experience. I think curating it with purpose makes such a big difference for the shoppers. For me, what I ended up doing is having different card stands for different occasions so that it made it easier for people to find what they're looking for. And I also think just paying for a bigger booth space is often what works for me. A market might offer you a 6-foot table, an 8-foot table, or a 10 by 10 foot square. I find that the tables are just a little too small for the amount of stuff that I would like to sell. And this past year, I got a 10 by 10 space. And while it was nice having a lot of space, it almost felt like a little too much. So I think something in the middle would be better for me. But you can imagine booth size makes a big difference. You have to be very selective if you only have a small table. I think I brought around 25 different stickers, 10 or so different bookmarks, and then one box of art prints, maybe like 30 of them in there. And then the rest were all cards. I have one card display that can hold 30 different cards and 2 more counter displays that can hold 16 altogether. And then for each of these designs, I would bring around 10 of them. So it's a lot. Like, I have to bring multiple huge storage bins of inventory, but this feels reasonable for me. And I like that I don't necessarily sell out of anything. I like that I can replenish it, and so that people can just freely buy anything that I packed. I also sometimes keep an extra box in the car. Aside from your inventory, you will want to bring your booth setup, a lot of signage, and business cards. cards. This one is such a big one. As much as our world is moving digital, people love getting physical business cards. And that's something that I kept learning the hard way because I kept forgetting my business cards. And what a lost opportunity. At best, it's going to be a local retailer looking to stock some new vendors at their shop. It's going to be somebody who wants a bulk order of something. Maybe they're an event coordinator or they run a ministry. The in-person connection is such a powerful way to sell without actually even selling. Your personality, the way your booth looks, your conversations, you just never know what's going to happen. So bring your business cards so that you can be ready for whatever good thing comes your way. And lastly, you'll want to pack personal things for the day. I always bring my water bottle and I purposely put my own stickers on it so that people could see what it looks like. Bring a lot of snacks, your chargers, lunch if you need to. I actually don't like bringing things like my laptop anymore because I realize it's more of a liability, especially because I end up leaving my booth a ton to go to the washroom and I'm just trusting my neighbor vendor to make sure no one steals from my booth. Okay, so this next section is all about pricing. Just generally speaking, you don't want to underprice, especially at markets because people are there to shop. And especially for craft markets, people are willing to pay a premium price for a handcrafted good. If they wanted something cheaper, they can literally go anywhere else, go online and find something cheaper. But that's not what these markets are for, and that's not the crowd that usually are attracted to these markets. So that's a good thing. But with that said, I actually like to lower my prices a little bit on market day. On market day, there's no real labor of packing or shipping for me, which usually takes up a lot of time for me. And I also don't collect tax. I still pay the tax on the sales that I got, but I keep the prices all very nice and round and easy to calculate. I just found that this reduced the friction throughout the day. Like when it gets really busy, I don't have time to open a cash box and give the correct change. Like if it's just even numbers, tax included into the price, it just makes my day go a lot smoother. It makes it easy for people to shop because they can kind of tally how much they're spending at your table. I also like to offer a lot of bundles on market day. 4 for 20, 5 for 20, like things like that. And again, I think this would be very different if you were selling something like candles. With paper products, this is very easy. So for example, normally I would sell this card for $6 plus tax on my website, but on market day, it's $5 flat and I'll do 5 for 20, which makes them actually $4. For me, this is like a nice little way that I can like thank the customers who have gone out of their way to come to my booth and say hi. It's just nice that I can offer a little market day discount, but all in all, I see everything about these markets as my marketing budget. So even if I'm not making a crazy amount of profit, I love that this is just something I've considered as part of running my business. All that said, don't underprice because you still want to make money at these markets. Okay, next up is booth setup. This is such a stressful thing. Like when I first started doing markets, I just could not wrap my mind around how I was going to merchandise everything, store everything. Like it was all very confusing. It only became not confusing after doing it once. Like the first time I did it, I had to really struggle through the process of it. I'm going to link as much as I can down below in my description box, but here are some of the things that I like to use. Number one, tablecloths. It doesn't really matter where you get the tablecloths as long as it fits your table. So do your research beforehand, know what tables you're going to be using. I actually own my own 8-foot table and I love that I own it. I can practice my display if I need to. I know exactly how the signage is going to look. Yes, buy tablecloths. I like the idea of going with like a more neutral, lighter color so that it works in whatever setting. But I did have a dark green tablecloth for a few years and I thought that it was really nice for my branding. Business signage is a big one. I actually bought like a polyester cotton blend from Fabricland and I used a fabric marker to just write my business name on the front. And for years now, I've just been putting it on top of my table. It's worked really well. I actually think this might be the year where I invest in like a tension backdrop sign, like a printed picture, but we'll see about that because it's like $500 to $800, I think. Next up are the card displays. I'm going to start with my favorite ones, and they're the ones that my friend actually custom built me. It's my large card display that stands on its own, and then I also have like an arched sticker display that I put on the table. Because they are custom made, you obviously can't find them, but there are companies out there that are making very similar things. I'm going to link them all below, but if you could just make something like this yourself or get it made, it's actually very easy to go on Amazon and buy the acrylic nail polish holders. So if you go to any nail salon, they'll have like a display of all their polishes. The acrylic shelf that they're using is perfect for holding cards or stickers, and so you can just buy that and screw them into the plywood sign. I did have my cards falling over on the display, so we added some cord to hold it in place, and so far it's been okay. Not perfect, but I'm not looking to upgrade that anytime soon. Amazon also has these amazing plywood card racks, and they're nothing special, and they're actually priced quite high for what they are. Basically just like laser cut plywood that you boop boop pieced together and it can hold like 6 to 8 cards. The IKEA bamboo plate holder is also great for putting out notepads or art prints. I also used to have like an IKEA coat rack to hold my tote bags. I always have a basket for my art prints, and I find that this is the best way to have them because art prints would just take up way too much space if I had them merchandised in any other way other than like one pile of art prints. I also have a bunch of acrylic photo holders from Amazon, which you can like prop up notebooks or notepads on. Sorry, I bought a lot of this on Amazon, but I also have like this backdrop that you can attach curtains to, and I used to bring them to my markets, but I found that it was just kind of clunky and got in the way and was just not necessary. And I think that having a printed backdrop would be a much better use of that space. The IKEA stools are also great for stacking and carrying to these markets if you need a place to sit. And then the rest is more like storage. Like I have these tough box storage bins that I got from Canadian Tire. I have some clear storage bins for more of the smaller stuff. I have a steamer to steam my signage and my curtains and tablecloths. But one of the best purchases I made last year was a hand truck. I had never heard of a hand truck before, but for the amount and size of my boxes, I found that the hand truck was so much better than using a wagon or a dolly. Like I've used all of those before. The hand truck was a game changer for me. Next, we're going to discuss payment and logistics. So I use Square to collect payments, and this is like the Square reader that I've had for years. I think this was $50 when I bought it, but it's around $70 now. They also used to give these ones for free, and these are to swipe your card. Most phones don't have this headphone jack anymore. Square is a payment processor, and it's actually free to make an account and to start collecting payment. The only thing that you're paying for is the transaction fee on every transaction. Some people might say it's too high. I think it's totally fine for my business. I actually like the convenience of taking credit card payments, and you can buy any of the hardware that they sell on their site. You can get like a tablet thing, a full card reading terminal. But again, I just have this small Square reader, which is kind of the most economical one. You download the app on your phone or your iPad, which is what I use, and you wirelessly connect your hardware with your device, and you can easily like charge people and have them tap the reader. It's honestly just way too easy to spend money these days with this technology. I like to have my phone and my iPad set up just in case something goes wrong during the day, but I've never had an issue, and I actually love that Square collects the data for you. Basically, whatever data you're inputting throughout the day, like however specific you put in the data, it'll give you a report for the sales of that day. Let me just show you. Oh, my iPad's dead. Like for me, I have it based on product category. So I'll have card, sticker, bookmark, and I just punch in what they purchased. And at the end of the day, it'll say, oh, you sold 100 cards, 3 stickers. But if you want to get more specific and write the actual SKU of the item, you can see which card sold best, which card sold the worst. I just haven't had the bandwidth to set all that up yet. I also know that Shopify has their own POS system, which I think would be very, very useful. I haven't looked into it, but if it connected to my store's inventory, which is like the benefit of buying the Shopify one, it would kind of be a game changer for me. So maybe that is something I will look into. Now, should you bring cash to these events? I actually think you should always bring cash. You don't have to bring like a whole cash box with like tons of coins and bills, but just like bring 5 of each, like 5 toonies, 5 loonies. Bring some 5s and some 20s. I think that's fine. And maybe it's easy for me because, like I said, I round everything down and I have the tax included. So everything's like a nice round number. But I think it's a mistake not to bring cash, because why add any resistance to someone that wants to buy your stuff? Especially after they've come to your booth and touched your product, they want to buy it. Just have some change ready so that you can make their transaction as smooth as possible. I like to give a digital receipt through the Square app, so it'll text them or email them a receipt of their purchase. And also on this topic, you will also want price lists very clearly all throughout your table. So I'll have usually 3 or 4 like menu sheets of prices on the table, and then beside every single stand, I'll have like a little price tag. So it'll say like cards, $5. I also have a frame with 2 QR codes, which has my website and my Instagram handle. And I find that that works really well. Again, on top of the physical business cards, in case that's what someone wants. Okay, next we're going to talk about actually selling and talking to customers. I know this is like a really hard thing for a lot of people. Being an extrovert, I actually really enjoy talking to people, and markets actually give me a lot of life. Like I'm physically drained, but I feel so encouraged after a market and talking to customers and other vendors. But it does feel like like a fine balance. Like I don't want to come off as like very salesy. Like when I'm shopping at a mall, I don't like looking at the sales associates because I don't want them to come up and talk to me. On the other hand, you're the face of your small business. Like you have to be proactive, and some people just need a little nudge to come check out your booth. Market time is not the time to be humble. You have to remember that you're there to sell. What I do is I usually smile at everyone walking by, like make sure you're not on your phone. And if someone makes eye contact with me, I'll say hi. We do a little bit of small talk, and I have some icebreakers I like to use. Things like,
is this your first time here? How do you like it so far? Do you usually go to markets? I'm actually new to Calgary. Which ones are your favorites? Have you seen the live band? Did you know that they're offering free face painting there? I think your little one would love it.
You can also guide people towards your products. Like, oh, if you're looking for stocking stuffers, I find that these are really great. This card does really well because yada, yada, yada. Another technique that works really well is to just compliment people. And I'm not telling you to just be like totally fake and compliment every single person that walks by. But honestly, market people are cool people. I genuinely like to connect with people on things that they're wearing, their earrings, their bags. Like it's so easy to draw people in like that. If you see that they've purchased something from another vendor, you can ask them about it. It's really nice to do your research about the vendors around you so that you can actually point customers to them if you think that they would actually enjoy whatever product they're selling. Honestly, the success of the whole market is your success too. You also want to be ready to share your story and more about your products. Like I always like to mention that everything's been illustrated or painted by myself. And sometimes my conversations go as deep as sharing my life story. I've shared my testimony. I've shared about my losses in the past. This is why it's just so special to go to these markets, because as an online business, you're literally never going to get that. Okay, to wrap this video up, are markets worth it? Yes, they are. I hope you get by now that it's not just about the profit. The profit is very important, and I strive to be profitable in every single event, but companies spend so much on marketing. And if you can see this as your marketing budget, I think that's a very healthy way to look at it. Connecting with your community goes a long way. For me, the biggest hurdle right now in this season of life is just the time it takes and the coordination it takes for me to physically be away from my kids for like 10 hours. I often need the help of my husband at the market itself. So we have to ask my in-laws to drive down and watch the kids or fly my mom in. When Margot was really little, I actually brought her to the markets and breastfed her all day. And when Charlotte was little, I kept her home with my mom, but I remember pumping in the washroom at the markets like all throughout the day. But despite the challenges, it's still worth it for me, and it actually is such a life-giving part of my business. So to end the video, I'm gonna give my number one hot tip for having a successful market, and that is to always have a clipboard where people can sign up for your email newsletter. Now, what I do is I run a little giveaway where I say, if you sign up for this giveaway, you have a chance to win $50 to my shop, like a digital gift card. People almost always sign up for the giveaway if I prompt them to do so. And at the same time, they're consenting to be on your marketing list. I have gotten close to 1,000 emails this way. And if you don't know by now, email marketing is such a powerful tool. For me, it has the highest conversion rate to sales. It's also like the most intimate way that you can communicate with someone. Like you can write them an email and have it in their inbox. Like they don't need to open social media and scroll through 50 things to see your post. I also like to follow up after the market with everyone on that email list. And I like to provide a little discount code, like 10% off, for them to continue shopping on your online site. Getting emails is such a valuable thing for your business. And so more than dollar amount, you can get future recurring customers. And this was a very long video. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave it down below. I wish you all the success. And if you're in Calgary, maybe we'll see each other at a market. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.